What I'm gonna do next is mix in a little bit of water.
Water? She's adding water to the eggs? Why would you add water to the egg mixture? Since we've been reviewing omelets, and might as well see how they make omelets on Epicurious. So today, this should be interesting. If anyone's wondering if I've made any omelets before, I've made a lot of them, and I do have them included in my little culinary course for you guys to check out if you are interested. And if you do enjoy coming back and seeing my videos, then be sure to give this video a like and a share, but most importantly, don't forget to give it a subscribe so you don't miss out on any future content. And also hit the bell notification so you know when all my videos do come out, because otherwise, well, you may miss it. Now, let's get started.
Hi, I'm Emily, and I'm a level 1 chef.
Hi, I'm Lorenzo, and I'm a level 2 chef.
Hi, I'm Barb, and I'm a level 3 chef.
Lorenzo's going to be cooking today. I wonder how he's going to make this omelet. He normally does a really good job. And we also have Emily. The last video that we reviewed with Emily, she made a burger and she didn't make it that well.
Oh, it's very charred. This looks disgusting.
If you guys haven't seen that video, you should see it.
It's been a while since I made an omelet because usually I just give in and make scrambled eggs with stuff in them.
The recipe comes from many, many brunches that I've gone to.
I'm going to be making a French omelet with a wild mushroom and goat cheese filling and fresh herbs.
All right, guys, time to bet. Who do you think is going to win today? Do you think it's going to be Emily? It's possible. Lorenzo or the pro chef?
The fillings going into my omelet are pre-cooked ham steak and some green bell pepper. When I'm figuring out the amount of filling I should use, I just kind of eyeball it. And that's kind of going to be it.
She's going to be using ham and a pepper, not ham and cheese. Ham and cheese is like a very common omelet. Also, when you're cutting ingredients for an omelet, it is a good idea to cut the ingredients a little smaller than this. She isn't doing bad, but they're about like 1 centimeter, and you want them a little bit smaller, unless of course you like bigger sized chunks of ham and peppers in your omelet.
So that's the first thing I'm going to do. I was actually going to start cooking the bacon. The vegetables I'm using today are red bell pepper, Spanish onion, green scallions, white button
Mushrooms and softened goat cheese. With the mushrooms, we're going to toss them with olive oil, salt, and pepper. All right, so these are going to be roasted.
If any of you are wondering what type of mushrooms the chef is using, she is using oyster mushrooms. Also, when you're working with oyster mushrooms, it's not a necessity to cut them like with other mushrooms. You can actually just pull them apart, and you can make them quite thin if you take your time and really pull them apart. They also cook faster if you pull them apart thinner. However, it is a good idea to take the stem off, and if there is any dirt, of course, clean them.
I might as well do my decor. I'm only going to use the green portion.
We're going to use Italian parsley, chives, and chervil. And there's our fresh herb mix.
She's using chervil. Now, chervil is not a herb that you typically see in the grocery stores. And as a matter of fact, the last time that I remember seeing chervil in the grocery store was when I lived in Lyon in France, and it was in Super U, or Super U. It's the big grocery store chain in France. But the one next to my house actually had it one day. And if you don't know what chervil is, another word for it is French parsley. The appearance is similar to parsley, but it's much more delicate. The leaves are smaller, so are the stems. Flat leaf parsley is very common here in Spain, and the flavor is a lot more intense. Curly parsley is not as intense as flat leaf, so you do see flat leaf used in a lot of recipes because it has more flavor with it.
Let's start sauteing my vegetables. I'm going to add a little bit of red pepper flakes because I like it a little spicy. I'm not cooking this all the way down. I just wanted a little bit of the raw bite off.
The mushrooms have come out of the oven. We're going to roughly chop them. We're going to add our mushrooms in, just a little bit of black pepper.
So as this is going, I'll add a little bit of salt. All right, so we have sauteed the vegetables.
So I'm putting the filling into a piping bag so that it's going to be easy to fill our omelet.
Now about the piping bag, if you're going to be making like a lot of omelets, or if you're going to be preparing for breakfast service, this is not a bad idea. You can even get a Ziploc bag if you don't have an actual piping bag and use it. You just need to make sure that you cut the end off enough, that the hole is big enough for the cheese and the mushrooms to be piped through, because if not, you know, it's gonna be a little tough trying to get the mushrooms out.
All right, we're going to now make the egg mixture. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna crack some eggs into this bowl, 2 eggs, and then I'm just gonna mix some other stuff into it. So first, I've got egg number 1, woo, egg number 2. Didn't get any shell in there this time, so pretty much a professional.
I actually cracked the eggs in a separate bowl just to make sure I don't have any shells at the bottom of the bowl. From here, I slowly pour it into my actual whisking bowl.
We're gonna start with 3 eggs for the omelet. Crack the eggs away from the bowl that we're going to be mixing them in so that we don't trip the shell and get it into our egg mixture. And I always use 2 hands to separate the eggs.
I'll give you guys a free tip, which I have mentioned in other videos, but I'll say it again. If you're going to be making more than 2 or 3 omelets, or you're going to be cracking a lot of eggs to make a few omelets. Now it takes like 2 or 3 eggs, depending on the size, to make an omelet. So, an easy way of doing this, because you are going to get eggshells and everything else in the bowl, is to get a bowl, get a sieve, crack the eggs into the sieve, and pass them through the sieve. And in the end, the egg mixture will be a lot easier to actually mix together because you already passed it through the sieve. So basically you already cut the egg whites and the yolk. So it's easy to mix it without, you know, having any separation.
I'm gonna be whisking these eggs, but it needs salt. The salt actually helps break down proteins in the eggs.
Now it is a good idea to season your eggs, but it is also a good idea to do it a little later. If you're going to be scrambling them or if you're gonna be making an omelet out of these eggs, it's not a good idea to add the salt now, because what can happen, especially if you add enough to season them well, is that it will make the eggs runny.
What I'm gonna do next is mix in a little bit of water.
Water? She's adding water to the eggs? You know, if I had my foot in the chair, this is something that I should put my foot down with. Why would you add water to the egg mixture? I mean, it doesn't help it. And you don't want to make the eggs more watery than they already are as well. This is why you don't want to add too much salt or salt before you cook them. But water? Really? If I didn't know any better, I would think that she's been watching some of Jamie's videos. It's possible.
And then just give it a little splash of water.
Wait, what? What? In the middle of cooking, you put water? Oh my.
I love Jamie, but it kind of seems like something that he would do.
I use a fork, but of course if you have a handy dandy whisk, go for it.
So I tend to whisk up and over in a circular motion so that I catch all of the eggs. Whisking side to side doesn't really do anything for you. We want to whisk vigorously because we want to make sure that the whites and the yolks are completely homogenized so we don't end up with big white splotches in our omelet.
I like a little texture in there, you know, like some bits more yolky, some more egg whitey.
I just want to get some air into the egg mixture and kind of incorporate all the salt that I put in there.
Now when you're mixing any eggs, it's not a good idea to like overbeat the eggs before you make either the scrambled eggs or the omelet. You want to mix them to the point where they come together, like just come together. You don't want to incorporate too much air, in other words. So if you are going to be using a whisk, you don't need to beat the you-know-what out of them. You don't need to beat them like you hate them, okay? The eggs are a little delicate. You need to know how to treat the ingredients.
So seasoning wise, I pretty much just eyeball it. Yeah, that's a fine amount of pepper. I'm just gonna put just a pinch of salt in.
We're gonna add in a generous pinch of our fresh herbs and just mix them in just before we start to cook.
Now this is what I mean. You can see a lot of air bubbles already with the egg mixture. Not good.
Now I'm actually going to start heating up my pan.
I'm gonna put this over medium heat.
We're gonna use 2 teaspoons of whole butter. This is gonna add some flavor to our omelet and help the omelet not stick.
When cooking omelets, you need to add a little bit of fat. Either you can add oil or butter. Butter is pretty typical, especially in the north when you're making an omelet or scrambled eggs. Here in the Mediterranean, we typically use more oil. The most important thing though when making an omelet is having a good omelet pan. Now what's a good omelet pan? Well, typically having a non-stick pan is good. You can also use like pans that are normal, so stainless or cast iron, which are not non-stick, although it will make your life a lot easier if you do have a non-stick. It's also a good idea to have a smaller pan like they're using in this video, about an 8 or a 9-inch pan, maybe even a 10-inch, depending on the size omelet that you want to make. And you need to make sure that the bottom is flat. Some of the pans here in Spain have like a little concave bottom, and so the center is actually a little higher. This isn't good. And if you do have a little nonstick pan and you notice that it's heavily scratched, throw it out. It's not just that you can be, you know, eating and all the Teflon and everything, is that it's lost its ability to be a nonstick pan anymore. So the best thing is to get another one and treat it very nicely. In other words, my omelet pan is just to make omelets, nothing else.
Don't burn.
As soon as the eggs go in the pan, we start to stir. And I'm making little circles around into a big circle.
I move it around a little bit. You can see as I'm doing that, it's starting to wrinkle a little bit. That means it's cooking.
The reason I'm doing this is because I want the eggs to cook evenly. If I let them sit, the eggs that are touching the bottom of the pan are gonna cook more than the ones on top, even though this is thin.
I'm just gonna give it like one more second. Obviously this is an exact science.
I personally like it loose like that. It's still a little runny.
So I'm gonna cook the eggs till they're about 85% done. I'm gonna cut off my heat, and then I'm gonna spread this back out.
One important thing though with making omelets, and this is why I prefer having a gas stove instead of either electric or induction, is because I can control how much heat goes into the pan. I can take it off and I can put it back. Now, with some inductions that you can actually set the actual temperature that you want it to be at, like let's say 150 to whatever, 250, 300 Fahrenheit, whatever. But normally when you add a pan to either the induction, electric, or gas stove and you just leave it, the heat will continuously increase. So it's important while you're making the omelet or scrambled eggs or whatever it may be, is that you use a thick bottom pan, or saute pan, and that you take it off the heat when you need to be able to continue cooking it. Now, when you mix the whites and the yolks together, the egg mixture will set at around 69 Celsius. That's when it will set. If you want to like go over that, which I don't like overcooked eggs, well, it's your prerogative, but especially if, you know, for like little kids or anything, you need to cook the eggs a little longer just to make sure. But yeah, I don't like really dry omelets or anything. It's just not nice.
I'm gonna toss some fillings in here now, so I'm just gonna put my ham and my peppers on one side of it.
Why add the raw peppers at the end? Especially they're cut so big. And not only that, but green peppers are bitter. If you want sweet peppers, you need to use red. And you can see here that these omelets, well, at least this one specifically, is already overcooked. You should be turning it a little before this while it's still a little runny. And then that can also help seal the omelet. So if you add cheese to it or anything, well, it won't run out as quickly.
Let's start with my cheese. This is freshly grated cheddar cheese, and I put it right smack in the middle. And then you take your veggies, you do the same thing in the middle. Oh my goodness, that looks good already.
Then what I'm gonna do is take my filling and add a nice generous amount in the center.
You see, this is where having like a salamander, the machine, not the amphibian, is actually very helpful, because what you can do is put the cheese on the omelet, take the little pan, put it into the salamander for a few seconds, it melts the cheese, and you fold it and you're done.
I'm just going to take this side, right, and then just flip it like that.
I'm gonna fold the omelet 1/3 of the way, slide it towards the end of my pan,
Now I'm just gonna roll it onto a plate. Lift up and roll.
and then roll.
Kind of a plop.
It is a little easier if you take the plate, put it on top of the omelet pan, and then invert it. And just a little bit. That way, you know, you don't plop it down on the plate, because you don't want to break it.
So I like to put hot sauce on my omelet.
I still have a little topping to go with my fresh scallions, because I love the bite of that oniony flavor of a scallion. And then, don't forget the bacon, folks. I like tearing and placing the bacon on top.
And then we're gonna take a nice generous pinch and just garnish our omelets at the end.
All right, so this is our omelet, and I think it looks pretty good.
A ver, Emily's omelet is not the worst I've seen. I've seen much worse. We haven't seen Jack's, have we? Cooking with Jack, well, we should see that one. But in any case, if you make an omelet and you want to impress someone, try to make it a little better than this. If it's broken, it's not good, and you need to cook the vegetables. In any case though, it's still edible, it's fine, put a little sauce on it, but the veggies should be cooked. They really should be.
It looks actually really delicious.
So I'm really happy with how this turned out.
To be honest, we would actually have to taste all of these to actually see which one is good or not, but at least from how everyone was cooking, I think Lorenzo did pretty good. And for Barbara, I would expect her to do good, so, you know, it's not a surprise that she made it like this, but you can make them, like, even better.
I can't wait to dig in.
Still really nice and moist. That's a good omelet.
The vegetables with the sharp cheddar cheese, it's so good together.
I get a little bit of tanginess from the goat cheese, a really nice roasty flavor.
It's great. I told you I could make an omelet.
Let me know in the comments down below, guys, who you think in order did the best. Now, for me personally, obviously, I would accept Barbara or the chef to do good, so this isn't a surprise. But Lorenzo, he does a pretty good job. And Emily, if she just cooked the vegetables and heated up the ham a little bit, it would have been better. Raw green peppers is not my forte. I don't really like eating like raw green peppers. In any case, let me know in your comments any thoughts down below. And also, guys, I will leave not only mine, but I will leave Lorenzo's Instagram down below if you want to go and give him a shout out and to wish him well, because he has gone through quite a difficult time recently and it would be nice to give him a little more support. So guys, if you did enjoy this video, then be sure to give it a like, give it a share, but most importantly, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and the bell notification. Also, if you are on Instagram, be sure to add me because I do have an Instagram. Also, if you are interested in my cookery course, the link is in the description down below. So until next time, take care.